Welcome to Fitness Fundamentals. You all know me anyway, but I'm Glenn, the bald face behind Turner Train. A little bit about myself. I used to be, and a few people that will confirm this, a bit of a party boy, a bit of a high functioning reprobate is what I'd call it. So I used to be on the piss from about Wednesday to Sunday, but I would still go to the gym and I'd punish myself in the gym for being able to do that to myself. So I was kind of self-harming in two separate ways, what I later realized of what it was. And it created quite an unhealthy relationship with fitness. But I was still really passionate about it. So I started to create good habits that got me out of difficult environments and allowed me to then become overall more healthy, overall fitter, and see fitness that fits into my life rather than having it dominate my life, which I thought it had to. So that was a real big transition for me. I wanted to go on and help other people put habits in and not just have this all or nothing mindset when it comes to health and fitness. Not having to eat chicken, broccoli and rice 3 times a day to lose weight. But how can you do that? Still maybe have a drink, definitely not to the excess that I was having it. But how can you have a drink, socialize, have a dessert and still lose weight sustainably, but also get as fit and strong as you can? As you might hear in the background, recently been a dad. That's had its new challenges as well about how to keep fit, healthy, and be a good role model for my son when he grows up. Now, today, like I said, is going to be as interactive as I can be, but we're going to go through lots of information. The most important thing for me is you take something away. There'll be loads of different parts of the theory that's involved. I'll make it as practical as possible so you have some real simple takeaways that you can implement right away. Sound good to everyone? Give me a thumbs up if you've got your camera on and you hear me okay. And I'm hoping you can now see my screen. You can see Fitness Fundamentals, proud and center in your Zoom screen. If you can, give me a thumbs up. All right then. So we've already put into the chat some of the things as to why you might have struggled before. And for me, one of my biggest messages is just being able to cut through the bullshit of the fitness industry. Any wanker with a video camera can go up into a supermarket, shout at you and point at things in the aisles and say that this is going to be bad for you or this is going to cause inflammation. I want to get rid of that and give you kind of the theory and science that goes underneath it, because what's more important for me is that you walk away with information rather than the science that goes behind it, rather than just loads of misinformation that's out there. Bear with me 2 seconds. What I am going to do is I'm just going to actually stop sharing, just so I've got the participant list up in case anyone comes a bit late, so no one can go. All right, let's do that again. Cool. Can you all see that again now? Brilliant. All right then, we'll get started. So you've already put into the chat why are you here, and we've got themes such as starting over again, struggling to balance healthy eating and parenting, work, and then losing focus as well. These are really common, and from a lot of the clients that I've trained, it boils down to really similar challenges. Overwhelm. There's too much information. We're living in a world where there's too much information, and with that can come confusion, the social media aspect of it as well, who to trust, how do you know what's a credible source anymore? You don't even know where to start because there's so much information out there. Now, with that, things can get overcomplicated. You can go on one side where you're listening to one side of social media that is super into the science and tells you that you need to have your electrolytes, your BCAAs, you need to make sure you get your creatine, morning sunlight, ice bath, all of this stuff. And on the other side, you've got scaremongering around only eat animal diets, only eat keto, and all of this. And I like to try and sit somewhere in the middle. Now, when it's cold, it's wet, it's rainy, motivation goes. So how many of you, give your hands up, have set real great fitness-related New Year's resolutions and then failed them already because it's cold, it's horrible, it's wet outside, and you'd rather stay inside? Doesn't necessarily have to be this year, it could be previous years where you've done that. And that's why motivation is so difficult to keep and why most people feel stuck. The other side of it is when people set these New Year's resolutions, they do too much too soon. Say, right, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week, I'm going to do 20,000 steps a day, and I'm going to have 1,200 calories a day. Problem is, beforehand, just 2 weeks ago, you were stuffing your face over Christmas, barely doing 2,000 steps, drunk, ate loads on 3,000 calories a day. There's no way you're doing 1,200 calories a day. Yeah, or the start next Monday. Everyone can diet well on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe. Thursday comes around, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, might as well start Monday. So I like to focus on quick fixes. I like to not focus on quick fixes over kind of sustainability, because everyone wants the magic pill and something that's going to give them the result without the work. So here's what today isn't. Today isn't about fancy gimmicks. It's not looking at those quick fixes. It's, like I said, not a magic pill. It's not crash dieting. So if you've come here for a 6-week summer shred because you're going to Barcelona in March and you want to lose 2 stone, you've come to the wrong place. I'm sorry. Neither is it ice baths or bro science. Having said that, there are some bro science stuff that actually works, but we'll get rid of that today. You don't have to be Joe Rogan to lose weight and to live a fulfilled, health and fit life. And it's certainly not Slimming World. Apologies if you've ever been part of Slimming World, but fuck Slimming World, because they gatekeep a lot of their knowledge. They wrap it up in this thing called sins and points and don't give you knowledge. And that's what a lot of my coaching is about, is giving you the knowledge to make those informed choices for yourself. It's not keeping you in a membership where you lose £1 every year and you get a reward for it. Dust? Anyone? Dust? So, we'll focus on 3 core pillars today. Nutrition. I know there is still a Slimming World. It's, might be kind of the Weight Watchers US arm, but there was a Slimming World literally up the road there, and I got a flyer the other day, and I was like, you flyed the wrong door here. I might start going around and taking them out of people's letterboxes. Anyway, so we focus on 3 core pillars, and these are the 3 core pillars I have in my Turn to Train methodology as well. Nutrition, training, and habits. So we'll dive into each of these. So when it comes to nutrition, other than what you've already put down, what do you struggle mainly with nutrition? So be really specific. Like, what are the main challenges that you find when it comes to eating healthily or having a balanced diet? Okay, so we've got chocolate tastes nice. So the hormone side of things, working full time, cooking. Yeah, that's really tough. We're experiencing that now for sure. And then being able to get protein at different meals and not having the same thing. Okay, so we've got like consistency coming up there. Time is really challenging as well. And then the hunger changing with hormones as well. So we're going to look at, we're not going to look at like particular diets. I'm going to give you the underlying theory and knowledge so that you can apply it to whatever diet that you might follow. So I'm not going to get into the tribalistic, vegetarian, carnivore, all of that. We're just going to look at the theory underneath it. First off, what is a calorie? We keep hearing about it. The government guidelines come out and they've slapped it everywhere saying, right, the average man needs 2,500, the average woman needs 2,000. But what is a calorie? Essentially, it's just a unit of measurement, just like a kilogram or a mile. It's not bad, it's not good. So when we hear about bad calories, good calories, you wouldn't say that about this is a good kilometer and a bad kilometer. It's just a unit of energy. In fact, if you really want to get technical, it's the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of water by 1 degree. There you have it. Some useless information you never needed to know. But that's all a calorie is. So when you hear the term like bad and good, it's not, it's just a unit of measurement. But when we think of calories as energy, we have the energy balance equation. Now, some of you may have heard this before, but this is what all diets will boil down to, is calories in versus calories out. Now, this does have nuances around it to do with hormones, particularly in peri and menopausal women, but I'll focus on which will make this harder and more challenging. But the underlying kind of thermodynamics is calories in versus calories out. So if we think of those calories as energy, when we're bringing that energy into our body and we are not using that energy enough, our body stores it. That's our weight gain. Now, if we bring those amount of calories in and we use those same amount of calories, so let's say it's 2,000 in and 2,000 out, and I explain how we burn those calories, then we stay at the same weight. Less calories going in, then we have calories going out through more movement and energy, and we'll get into that. Then that's where weight loss comes. Now, this is wrapped in this package called Eat Less, Move More, which is a real simple throwaway comment that people hear all the time. It's not quite as simple as that. More nuances involved, and we'll dig into what that looks like. Now, where do we burn calories? And I will use the phrase burn. The reason why we have burn is because it's energy. So that's a nice way to remember it. Over a 24-hour period, in fact, before I get into this, I just want to really stress that this is fundamental mindset shift that I had when I first started getting into training, is understanding where you burn calories. So over a 24-hour period, all the calories that we burn, we call this our total daily energy expenditure. And because it's a bit of a tongue tire, I'll just call it TDE for short. And it's split up into 4 categories. So across that 24-hour period, 70% of those calories will be burnt in something called our BMR. Known as your basal metabolic rate. Don't need to know that phrase, but some people might like it. This is just, the important stuff like breathing, keeping your heart running, thinking, just basically staying alive. Pretty important stuff. We'll get into why that's an important number in a second. We then have what's called NEAT, non-exercise activity. So this is what I'm doing at the moment. I talk a bit like a weather reporter, but also is walking upstairs, getting more steps in, sitting upright, walking around the office when you're taking a call. Anything that's not exercise, it's called non-exercise activity. Technically it's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, but whatever. And then we have TEF. This is known as the thermic effect of food. Basically how much energy is required to eat, so chewing, and all the digestion stuff that happens inside, including pooing. That's your thermic effect of food. And then at the top, something I haven't mentioned yet, is exercise. So really, over the course of a 24-hour period, only about 5% of the calories that you burn will come from exercise. Bit of a shock. So what does this mean when it comes to exercise? Is it worth it? Should we even bother? Well, yeah, but don't go to the gym to burn calories. You want to go to get stronger, and we'll get into that. But let me give you an example. Now you can apply this to your own kind of weight, but you can also use some online calculators for this. What I would recommend is when you do this, don't pay attention to anything else that comes underneath it. Just get your number that comes out. Figure out the rest later. For example, let's say that your maintenance goal, which is based on loads of different kind of equations, let's say you get that number and it says your maintenance goal is 2,000 calories. Like I said, ignore the other stuff. This means that your BMR, so that basal metabolic rate, so down here, remember this is the amount of calories that you need to just survive. That's 1,400 calories. So 70% of 2,000, quick maths, 1,400. Now, for those of you that said that you sometimes lost weight and then put it back on, it's because of this. It's what we call yo-yo dieting. So what happens when we go below this BMR number for a sustained period of time, our bodies are really clever and they go, holy shit, we're starving. We're in the desert. We need to survive. So it reduces your energy levels. If you've ever been on those big crash diets, feel free to put a thumbs up or say yes in the chat. Been on a big crash diet, you'll find brain fog, lack of movement throughout the day, no energy, can't think, probably reduced libido as well, because your body's gone into that starvation mode. Over time, your body will get used to operating at a lower amount of calories that you need per day. So when you finally got fed up of hating life and want to start eating normally again, your total daily energy expenditure, your needs, are now lower. So when you go back to eating normally, you've now created that surplus in terms of more energy coming in than is going out. So even though you're eating what you did before, your body's needs are now less, and that's why you gain more weight than you did previously. That's the yo-yo dieting phenomenon. As a quick side, if you wanted to lose weight really quickly, I probably would put you on a really harsh deficit, and it's okay for like 4 to 6 weeks, but it comes with you'd have to have a bit of training experience and clear kind of knowledge with it. I'd never recommend it for longer than that, so please don't. But let's say you're clever because you've gone to this fitness fundamentals workshop and you're going, yep, Glenn told me not to do that, so I'm going to put on a relatively sustainable deficit of 300 to 500 calories a day. So let's say your weight loss goal is now 1500 calories. But that's still pretty close to your BMR. And this is if you sat on your ass and did nothing. But you're human, so you move, you eat, you breathe and do other bodily functions. So this is where movement comes in. So this is when it comes to calories out, movement is what we call your multiplier. So we take that TDE, we take that total daily energy expenditure, and we times it by a certain number. Again, you don't necessarily need to know this because you could do this yourself, but other calculators can do it for you. So you can either sedentary, which is maybe 1 to 2 gym sessions a week, lightly active, 3 to 5, moderately active, slightly harder working out, and you might do a manual job. Very active is like 6 to 7 workouts, manual job, you need a lot of calories. So say for example, let's take that 2000 calorie person. Let's say that they are lightly active, kind of 2-3 sessions a week. This will be their new total daily energy expenditure of 2,750. And then we can apply the deficit of 500 calories, which gives us your goal for the day. So notice how it's different than what we've put here. Everyone's going, oh, I get to eat a bit more food. Yes, because you're moving and you're being a human being. You're not just sitting on the floor all day. What I would say though, is when you are dieting and to make it really sustainable, every 6 to 8 weeks, eat back at your maintenance. So in this example here, I would get this person to go back for just a week or so at 2,750. It's good for the mental health, it's good for hormone regulation, and it just helps you be more sustainable. If you know that you've got a week of eating kind of normally again, you're much more likely to do it long term. Rather than thinking you're always in a diet, this is what we call like a lifestyle change. So before I go, I'll pause for any questions, or you can just give me a thumbs up if you're happy with how that's been explained, or let me know if I need to explain that even further. Thumbs up from V. Taylor, cool. Real key fundamental blocks these are. They're not pretty, they're not that sexy, they're not going to sell anything, any fad diet books, but it works. If you want me to kind of do this for you, I'm more than happy to. Just drop me a message and I have a calculator myself to do this and help you. So stop going to the gym to burn calories. Stop going to do an hour. My wife's friend once went to the gym for an hour and a half, 4 times a week, and just sat on the rower. Pretty much just sat on it because she wanted to just burn calories, and then she'd go again later that day and do a spin class. Again, too much too soon. It didn't work out. So stop going to the gym. Bit outraged going to the gym. Right. Sorry, I might have got those. I might have got those mixed up. Cheers for that, V. Yeah. So sedentary is your kind of walking around, not really doing too much. Your sedentary is still higher than your BMR. Yeah. Thanks for the catch there. Yeah. Sedentary doesn't mean not going to the gym 4 times. Anyway, so stop going to the gym to burn calories. Instead, increase your NEAT. So remember that graph with the non-exercise activity? It burns 3 times more calories than exercise. Now, this doesn't mean that walking for an hour will burn more calories than running for an hour, but if you run for an hour, what are you going to be doing for the rest of the day? Probably quite tired, probably a little bit less energy. Whereas walking for an hour doesn't have the same fatigue. So whilst like time for time, you won't burn as many calories, you're more likely to move more throughout the day. It's an easier thing to add more movement in. So actually you don't even need to go to the gym to technically lose weight. I'll always recommend doing strength training, but technically you don't have to. So if you're able to walk 8 to 10,000 steps a day, that could look like adding on an extra 2 to 3 15-minute walks. A good rule of thumb is thinking that at an average pace, 10 minutes is about 1,000 steps, roughly. So think of your current steps. Could you increase it? Or think about putting in these 10, 15-minute blocks throughout the day. Getting off the tube or bus a stop earlier. This is a magic one. Give yourself the extra kind of 20 minutes or so to go for a walk. Take calls standing or walking. So if you're desk bound all day, get a standing desk as well. That's a helpful thing. One of the best investments I've made was one of these. For example, today, this is going to be really bad to admit this. I'm a personal trainer. I've done 3,000 steps today. I'm here to tell you to get more steps in. So I know that it can be really tough to be able to move properly. But standing and fidgeting a bit, trying to do what I can. And finally, my favorite mantra is take the damn stairs. If you leave here doing one thing differently, don't use the escalator. If you're getting on the tube and you're using the escalator, you're maybe using it 14, 20 times a day if you're in London. Imagine how much more exercise you could be doing just by walking up the stairs rather than waiting on the side. I'll give you a pass to use lifts over the 4th floor, but up until there, get the steps in. Because you're training your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, your calves, and you're increasing your heart rate and fitness. You can swear at me next time you walk up them. Anything else? Anything else I want to add to that? Don't think so. That's a good one as well, Fiona. Yeah, park as far away as you can. It sounds really silly, but these things add up over time. That's all going a bit weird. Oh, you can still see that? Grand. Brilliant. So that wraps up kind of the energy equations. But now we need to think about what is the energy we're putting into our mouths? Well, that's food. And what is that? So we hear a lot about macros. Make sure it fits your macros. Check your macros. What is it on MyFitnessPal? Basically, it's just categories of food. That's all it is. I'm a bit annoyed I can't see. Anyway, we'll deal with it. So, categories of food, if we think of macro as like big macro environments, macroeconomic, that's all this is. It's just categories of food. And we have 4 main ones. We have carbs, fiber, fats, and protein. Yes, okay, those amongst you who are a bit pedantic, fiber is technically a carb, but we'll treat it as 4 separate ones today. We'll look at what they are, slight examples of each one, and what they do to your body. So carbs, they're not bad. They get a bad rep. What happens when people want to lose weight? They cut out carbs. The carbs themselves are not inherently bad. They're just in foods that we all love. Donuts, pizza, burgers, chips. So that's why when we cut out carbs, we're probably going to lose weight because we're cutting out all the shit. But actually carbs get converted into what's called glucose, which is glycogen, which is our preferred fuel source for the body. So what you're doing when you take out all of those, if you went completely no carb and went on this keto diet, you can get a bit of brain fog, lacking energy until a bit further down the line. So I would never recommend cutting carbs out. It's easy to reduce them because they're in these sugary, ultra-processed foods, but overall, I wouldn't cut them out. In fact, they can help your training and help you train with more intensity, which is what I'd always promote. I want you to think of carbohydrates like fuel and in particular petrol. So it's great for short, sharp work like strength training. If you were to do an hour workout in the gym, having some carbohydrates before is perfect for that because your body will just use those straight away. So again, it's its preferred source. So if it sees some carbohydrates there, it will use those to work out with first. So don't cut them out. Fiber is an offshoot of carbohydrates, helps with digestion. This is your fruits and veggies. And the reason why they're so great is because they're sort of calorie free. because they help with the digestion. They strengthen your intestines to make you poo properly. So if you had some pretty dodgy poos after Christmas, it's probably because you didn't have enough fibre, because you've been eating like a pig for 2 weeks or so. So the fibre helps us to have more solid poo and also helps us to feel more full. If I gave you 300 grams of steak versus, poor example, 300 grams of donuts versus 300 grams worth of spinach, the amount of volume in that spinach far outweighs that. You'll feel more full off that because it will just, the size of it will fill you up. And because it digests itself, that's why it's kind of free calories. Also, you're an adult, eat your fucking greens. That's it. How much fiber should you be having? About 35 grams a day, as much as you can handle. Don't, if you haven't had a broccoli in 2 months, don't go ahead and start eating one broccoli head for breakfast, lunch and dinner, because it will hurt. Just gradually build it up. Try adding a bit, like one more fruit in the afternoon, and I'll get into portion size in a bit. So fats, if we think of carbohydrates as petrol, fats are the diesel. So they're our slow burn, sustainable energy. So we wouldn't use these for, you wouldn't stock up on fats to then go do some strength training. We might want to stock up fats if we want to go and do a marathon, because it's going to help us have more sustained energy. Even longer than a marathon, sorry, probably more like ultra marathons. We want to be improving our fats. The reason why I wouldn't cut these out from the diet is hormone production and regulation. Super important. They're used to help carry vitamins around the body as well. So having fats in your diet, whilst they sound really bad because it says fats, is super important. And finally, protein. Niche reference at the top there, if anyone gets it, fair play. So protein isn't just for big jacked bodybuilders like in the photo. It's for everybody. And the reason why it's so important, my personal trainers get hard on for protein, is because it helps repair muscle tissue, which is what we want when we're working out, but also supports immunity. If a high protein diet, less likely to come up with illnesses and colds and such. And the reason why it's good to have with your meals is it's satiating, which means you feel quite satisfied. It's really hard to overeat on chicken breast. So if you have, or even let's say you have like tuna or something like that, it's quite hard to then want to eat other things on top of it. So if you can prioritize protein at your meal, you're less likely to have other shit with it. Whether that comes in the form of animal protein, fish, or legumes or beans, either way, prioritize protein first, you're less likely to eat other crap. Are you getting enough? Probably not. So the recommended daily allowance in the UK by government guidelines is 50 grams. Get rid of that. Real simple equation, not in your head, but times your body weight in kilograms by 1.6 grams, and that's what I would recommend for your protein intake. For example, I weigh 88 on a good day. That's 140 grams of protein. 1.6 to 1.8 is good. 2 times, the returns are diminishing after 2 times your body weight, but it's a good target to go for, because if you miss that, you'll end up at 1.6-ish. So overshoot it. You can't overconsume protein. You can have 200 grams of protein in one meal and it's not going to kill you either. So yeah, eat more. What I will be doing is there'll be a follow-up email to this where I'll send you my nutrition guide, which gives you loads of different examples of what 30 to 40 grams of protein looks like across animals, vegetables, and fish as well. So this is how you want to build your plate in order. Prioritize protein, then fiber, then carbs, then fats. So what does that look like? That can look like a big, I'll choose my dinner for tonight, for example. Had a lean pork mince, then had green beans, mushrooms for my fiber, a bit of broccoli. My carbs were some noodles, and the fats was a bit of oil that I cooked it in. So that's my guidance, because if you have protein, it keeps you satisfied, fiber keeps you full, carbs keeps you energized, and fats give you stable energy. So if you have all of those, you're satisfied, full, energized, with stable energy throughout the day, and you don't have that crash at the end. Portion size, 1 fist of protein, 1 to 2 fists of fiber, 1 palm size of carbs, and 1 thumb of fats, roughly. Of course, If you're craving something and it makes you happy, put it in there. If you have the allowance within that calorie window to do so, always recommend getting something that makes you happy, because it's going to keep you sustainable for long term. Don't prioritize this in the other order and get something that you're craving, then something that's fatty, then carby, and then a bit of sprinkle of fiber and protein. Always go this way around. So these are the Turn to Train nutrition principles that I ask all my clients to follow. 3 balanced meals a day, using that same framework we've just used. 1 to 2 high protein snacks. And then what you can do is, let's say that you're struggling to get your protein goal in. Let's say it's 150 grams. Divide it evenly across the day. So that could look like 30 grams with like Greek yogurt, oats and berries in the morning. In the afternoon, that can look like a chicken salad with some sweet potato. Then you might want to have like a protein shake, a whey protein shake in the afternoon. Then evening steak, something like that. And then you can finish with like some Greek yogurt to have as a dessert. That will easily get you 140, 150 grams. Always leave a little space for treats, like I said. And finally, you can use that same theory of what's called balance in the books, which is where you can start to borrow calories from certain days to use on another day. So let's say, for example, that you have your total daily energy expenditure goal of 2,000 calories, and then your deficits, you've been told it's going to be 1,700. You can go down past that deficit, say 1,500, for like 5 days. You've now brought up an extra 1,000 calories that you can use on the Saturday, because you know you're going out for some beers. Taylor's going down to the Beck and Call for a pint watching Leeds. You know, so think about, if you have these social occasions coming up, you can still have them, but borrow some of your calories to use on another day. You can even do it on the day itself by having a lighter lunch. Means you get pissed quicker, whatever. But you can start to play around with these calories, because what matters more is your calorie count across the week, not just day to day. And that goes the same. Breakfast, lunch, keep them as consistent as you can. Plan them out, because they are the things we probably have the most control over. Family dinners, going back to Fiona's point around time, might not be able to get the healthiest dinner. We've been having like ready meals recently. Steve, you call them cheat meals. I just call them part of a diet. But yeah, you can have a cheat meal for sure if you're borrowing the calories and you're in a deficit for the rest of the week. Otherwise, it's just kind of pushing your calorie surplus up over the week. And that's our nutrition section. This is the longest section today because there's so much involved in it. Don't worry, it won't all be that long. But is everyone still with me? Has that helped answer some of your concerns that you might have had with nutrition beforehand? Cool. All right then, so getting into my favorite topic, training. So who here, if we just do a quick show of hands, give a thumbs up, struggles to stay consistent with their training? Who here is already following a plan of some sort with their training? V, I know you are. Awesome. So there are reasons why your gym plan might suck. Not yours, Verity. Yours is awesome. So previous gym plans tend to fall down for quite a few different reasons, and this can be why you may have struggled before. So it's switching routines. It might seem really, what's the word I'm looking for? Interesting to go and use different exercises and different workouts and do the shiny thing. That's stunting your progress. Not having a plan in the first place, just flying by the seat of your pants, walking into the gym, being a bit on your phone, not knowing what to do, someone's using your machine, sod it or go home. Having an all or nothing mindset, meaning if I can't do the perfect workout, I'm just going to go home. Not progressively overloading, and we'll get into what that means. Doing bro splits, so just doing like chest on Monday, back on Tuesday, legs on Wednesday, etc. You're just bored, you don't find the gym interesting. And look, this isn't for me to force you into the gym. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to go every single day. You don't have to go every single day either. But it's finding something you enjoy is important. And finally, not training hard enough. We'll get onto that. So these are the muscle growth non-negotiables. This is the science that goes into training plans. If you work with a coach, you need to see these. If you don't, massive red flag. And we'll dig into what these mean in a little bit. You want to train close to failure, you want to progressively overload, and you need to make sure you've got 8 to 10 hard working sets per muscle group. If you see all of the baby oiled, somersaulting, bullshit training on Instagram, they didn't get like that by doing that, they got like that by doing this. And this is where I said something like bro science works, because bodybuilders been doing this for years. It works. But you don't have to be, you won't become a bodybuilder overnight by doing it. I wish you did. So, training close to failure. Training intensity is the number one indicator of how well you will grow muscle and improve your strength. We call this training close, we call this close to failure. Now, Steve, aerobic slightly differently. This is just focused on strength training. So with aerobic, we can get into that in a little bit if you want to pause that thought. So aerobic slightly different. This is focused on strength training. Thanks for making me clarify that. I didn't. Apologies. So when it comes to strength training, we want to make sure that we are almost failing the rep. So when you're, say, doing a shoulder press and you've got your weights, you do your first one, great. Get to the 10th one, great. If they feel the same, it's too light. You want to be getting to that 6th or 7th or 8th rep, and it's not like you can't lift it, but it's a struggle. If it feels much slower than the first rep, you're in that sweet spot of what we call RPE 8 or 9. Don't know that. But that's the sweet spot for muscle growth. So if your last rep's harder and slower than your first, perfect. Now, sometimes you hear the classic 3x12, 12 reps. There's loads of new science coming out to say you don't need to be doing that much. Instead, anywhere between 6 to 10 reps will give you what you need. You can do 30 reps or something. The science says anywhere between 5 and 30, but you haven't got time to be doing 30 reps of everything. So actually you can do more with less and do 6 to 8 reps of pretty much every exercise. And as long as that last rep feels really tough, you're okay. This is why working out at home is quite tough to do, because you're burning calories. You're not strength training as much unless we start playing around with how tough it's going to be for you. So that's training intensity. That's number one. The second non-negotiable is progressive overload. If you've heard of this term before, it can mean a few different things. It's not just adding weight to the bar. It technically means gradually increasing muscle stress over time. So more weight, less rest, more reps, sets, more intervals, all of that. That is still progressively overloading. For example, if you were only walking 6,000 steps a day and you started working 7,000, that's progressively overloading. Doesn't necessarily have to be adding loads of weight to the bar. For example, at the moment, now I've got my little baby Maxi, he's strapped to my chest. I'm doing the same amount of steps, but with an extra 8 kilos on me. That's a progressively overloaded exercise now. So a good way to do this is track your workouts. And it doesn't have to be a fancy app. You don't have to pay loads for it. For the last 4 years, I've been using the Notes app on my phone. That's right. Personal trainer, coach, been using the Notes app on his phone. That's all you need. As long as you can see it and you can see what you did last week, that's going to help you progressively overload. What's also going to help is having a range, not a single target. So I give my clients a range of, say, 6 to 8 reps because I want them to push for that 8th rep. And if they can't, they're still going to be in that 6 to 8 range. If I just give them a rep and say, right, hit 6, there's more chance that they're going to play it safe. So they can just hit that precise number. And one final thing on this is if you've recorded all of your weights, next week, start your first set with the weight from the last set, the previous week. Because then what will happen is you'll start to sort of do this gradually. You won't sort of fly up like this, but ever so slightly, you'll do a bit more, and you only do that from knowing what you did the previous week. Because in a nutshell, if you can do 6 to 8 reps at say 20 kilograms one week, and then you do 6 to 8 reps of 24 kilograms the next week, and then you do 8 reps or 10 reps of 24 kilograms, that's just progressive overload. That's all it means. So just lift weights until you can do 10 reps and then go up in weight, etc. Right then, plans. So fuck your bro split. Just don't do it ever again. It is a hangover from the 90s. You're not bodybuilders. Stop training like one. The bro split, when you do one body part per day, massive problem with that. Let's say on chest you do about 6 different chest exercises, 20 reps, you've got massive fatigue, and then you've got another week until you work those muscles again. So remember the principle, the non-negotiable, 8 to 10 hard working sets per week, not just one session. And also, let's say that you miss Monday. Okay, you're never going to miss chest day, let's be honest. But let's say you miss leg day. All of a sudden there's a work thing that's come up. It might be another 2 weeks before you train those legs. So this is my program of philosophy, and it doesn't mean that it's the best. It just means it's my preferred. Full body workouts. So remember I'd mentioned that 8 to 10 hard working sets? We can split that up across the whole week. So let's say on Monday, we're doing legs, chest, back, shoulder, arms, and a bit of core. We can then do the same again on Wednesday, and the same again on Friday. That's it. I've now given you back 4 days. You can start to add in some cardio, Steve. Maybe spend some time with the family on Sunday. But overall, it's about being efficient. In fact, you can even, on some studies are showing that you can just go 2 times a week. As long as you're training with the other non-negotiables, close to failure. Excuse me. Training close to failure is easily the most important one that you can do. Cool. So full body for me is always going to be the preferred way to program. And I do it for myself, I do it for my clients, and it's a massive time saver. So what does one of those sessions look like? Well, this is the structure I like to follow. Warm up, couple of lower exercises, 4 upper body exercises, and some core work, or a high intensity finisher. So across the day, across the session, you can have your warm up, so 2 to 3 minutes on a machine to get your heart rate going. Dynamic stretching, this means doing like lunges and squats. It doesn't just mean, you know, those runners where you see they just, I'll use the bed as an example. They just do that. And that's it, they're ready to go. It's none of that. It's getting nice and loose, squats, lunges. So looking at the lower side, I've got a goblet squat as an example. This is just where a squat where you hold a kettlebell here. For the quads, Romanian deadlift for your glutes and your bum. Then I've got the upper workout. Chest press for our chest. I've got something for my back with the pull-ups. I've then got something for my shoulders and something for my biceps. Another key way to make this really efficient is something called supersets, which is where you do one exercise, go into the next exercise without any rest, and then you rest after you've done both of them together, then go back to the start. Really efficient, because whilst one muscle group, the chest, is resting, the back is working, and vice versa. Super helpful, really efficient. You can get in and out on your lunch break with something like this, which Verity will attest to. Verity is one of my clients in the Purple Fitness program I've got. Yeah, in and out very quickly, very efficient. So then when we split this up across the week, we don't have to do the same workout every single time because that's going to get you bored. Instead, we can just choose from goblet squat. So we've got a quads, leg press quads, hack squat quads, hamstring, glutes. You can see here, we've split up that across the week. And if we're doing 3 sets of each exercise, we're doing 9 across the week. We're in that perfect 8 to 10 hard working sets range. And we've done all of this in less than 3 hours a week. And that's it, that's all you need. If you did this with 8 to 10,000 steps a day, you are killing it. That's all you need to do for a really good weight loss journey, to build strength, If you add some high protein diet in there as well, that's it. But I've covered that. What is important is making sure to deload every 6 to 8 weeks. Remember I said that about nutrition? Same goes for training. Every 6 to 8 weeks, just, excuse my language, just fuck your plan off. Just play tiddlywinks or paddle or whatever for the week. Just do something you really enjoy and get out away from the gym. So every 6 to 8 weeks for my clients, what I program is a deload week, drop the intensity, their calories go up a little bit so they feel like staying again, but then also they get to just do something they love and not necessarily have to push too hard. And this is what's going to keep you doing it long term. So let's say you do all of this. You said, right, I've listened to Glenn because he says Christmas was a really long deload week. Yeah, I'm only just getting back into the swing of things. A nice deload fortnight. But let's say that you do all of this, and you've probably done all of this in the past. Put into the chat what has let you down before. So what's been some of the challenges that you've had from maybe doing something like this before, but you're not now? What's caused that? So if we think back to like some of the challenges that you may have had before, motivation can go quite easily. You do all this, you can get a bit bored, and when it's cold, it's wet, it's windy, bit of burnout, breaking the habit, hard to get back into it. Yeah, exactly. So if you're, thinking about that energy, Steve, we only have so much energy. Doesn't care whether we use it for work or we use it for working out. So if we're using a lot of that for going to work, it's quite hard for us to then get back into that habit and do things like exercise. So, okay, Philip not seeing results as well. These are really key things, and this next part is what binds it all together. It's the habits. So this is all theory, it's all well and good doing it, but people with the best motivation and best intentions can still fall short because they're not seeing results quick enough, or obstacle comes their way, it's raining, people don't want to go for a run, don't want to get the white trainers muddy, whatever it is, they find an excuse. So these habits that I'll talk about, get rid of your motivation. It's not about motivation. I hate the word motivation. People want to get personal trainers for motivation. No. You want to get personal trainers for accountability. It's different. But instead, if you think about it like this, motivation is temporary, DNA is permanent. So motivation can come and go quite easily with the weather, but DNA is who you are. And if you can change not the best parts about you, don't become a sad sap whose entire personality is Hyrox and CrossFit. Instead, put in some habits that change who you are as a person over time. Because people want to come to you because you've got, because you do healthier choices more often than not, you'll be seen as being more health conscious. And the more people say, you're being really healthy, they'll stop saying that. Instead, they'll just know it's you. That's when things stick. So these are the non-negotiable habits that I have all of my clients do, or at least try to implement. I'm not ruling with an iron fist here. So the core habits I have: water before coffee first thing. The reason why is because you've just spent 8 hours, if you're lucky, without any hydration because you've been asleep. You wouldn't spend 8 hours not drinking during the day. So as soon as you wake up, it's great to just have 250, 400 ml of water immediately. And the way you make this habit stick is you fill the water up before you go to bed, put it by your bedside table, first thing you do in the morning. This single habit changed my life. And that sounds a bit drastic, but remember when I said I was a bit of a party boy, drinking too much? This changed it. One habit stacked day on, day out. So have it before your coffee. The second one is to pack your gym bag the night before. You want to make that barrier to entry so low that it's impossible not to do. So pack your bag the night before, put it by the front door, because I realised that if I got into the car, I'd be okay. I just needed to get to the car. I'd find an excuse not to go. So pack the gym bag the night before. Prioritise protein, already mentioned why that's so important. So once you get used to tracking calories again, which you don't have to do forever, by the way, it's just a helpful tool to have. But if you get into the habit of prioritising protein, it will just become second nature to you. Then when you go to restaurants, you'll look at the more leaner meats first and then start planning the vegetables around it. So prioritise protein and plan your workouts. You plan your week, you schedule things in. Why don't you just schedule in your workouts as well? Every Sunday night, I look at where I'm travelling that week and go, right, so Wednesday, I'm in London. I won't be training that day. So I need to treat it as a rest day and think, okay, I'm going to train tomorrow, X, Y, Z. I can't help you getting out of bed unless it's some sort of like Wallace and Gromit, falls out of bed thing. Can't really help you with that, B. But yeah, as soon as you're out, that's okay. And then my final big habit I force everybody to do, and this one I do force, is take the damn stairs. It will fundamentally change who you are. So when I used to go to work in London, the office we had was on the 9th floor, and I'd take the stairs just once a day, which is about 174 steps. Crazy. I didn't do it all the time, but I did it once a day. And it was just my way of proving something to myself that I can do a hard thing. Because the more that you do that, the more you will become someone who does hard things. And that's life-changing. So these are the core habits I recommend everybody do. Yes, Carolina. So I'm going to make sure you go to the 5th floor. You'll be doing those steps now. You've told me. I'm sorry. Cool. And the key thing with habits is that don't do all of this at once, because you'll fail. It's way too much. Just do one by one. So focus on one each week. Once you've got it nailed and it becomes boring, that's when you do another habit. So until a habit becomes boring, that you don't do another one. But the number one rule is never miss twice. So if you do one habit one day, day 2, day 3, but you can't do it day 4, don't make it day 5. Start it again, because if it becomes 2 days in a row, that's the start of a new habit. So make sure never to miss twice. Me, for example, I'm trying a new habit of meditating for 5 minutes a day. I know missed today, so I'm damn sure not going to miss tomorrow. And I think this is where a lot of people fall off the wagon, is they miss it once and feel like that's their entire world caving in. Don't. It happens, we're all human. Just don't miss twice in a row. So, does this work? Am I just some weird bald bloke in his living room with a screaming baby next door telling you that these things might work? Well, they do. And the reason why it's worked is because it works for people such as Clive, who's been a operations manager in a hospitality business, traveling all around, and he's been doing half marathons and marathons before he met me. But he jumped between the apps, had no structure, inconsistent, and he'd always get really pissed off. He'd get really pissed off that he couldn't follow the app word for word or do exactly what he needed to do. And what he's found is that afterwards, more energy, tighter muscles, and better nutrition habits as well. And actually he's enjoying training again. And the absolute legend did a new 10k PB for under 55 minutes, which was the better time than he did in his 20s. And this is a busy guy who's traveling around a lot. Pascal came to me in the train station in Leeds out of nowhere, whispered in my ear pretty much, I'd never seen him before, saying, "Do you work out at the gym in Headingley?" Fucking scared the shit out of me. But he's been with me for a while, and he's kind of on the bro split side. So that's what he always did for years. Strong dude, can bench more than I can. But he was constantly sore from like battering himself in the gym, constantly like restarting programs. We'd done loads of bodybuilding programs before and just got bored. Whereas when we started working together, he found he can be stronger, fitter, more mobile, and he's excited to start training again because it's a different way of training. And now he's actually fitter than his partner, who used to do loads of park runs, which is a good result. I don't think she's too happy about it. Next week with Carolina. So for Carolina, had challenges before when it came to kind of programs, trainers maybe not quite understanding like her needs. And we looked at how can we make it as simple as possible and as easy as possible. So it's you can't even not do these habits. And through being supportive and permission to be human, and that's a really big takeaway from today actually, is understanding that you don't have to be perfect. We're not. We've got loads of different things going on in our lives. Fitness isn't everything that we tie our personality to. It should just be part of the fabric, not the whole tapestry. So we looked at how can we create simple deficits, more knowledge, and she's got some steady weight loss, really good results, coming up to doing her first push-up soon, I'm sure, and lost a really good amount of weight sustainably, not doing crazy yo-yo dieting. I'm super proud of Carolina. So it does work for loads of different people, not just busy corporate blokes. These principles can work for anyone. And this is the Turn to Train coaching as a whole. 12-week transformational program, and it's designed for the real world and real people, not just 21-year-old PTs who tell you got the same 24 hours, but they live at home with their mum and they've never changed a nappy. Like, it's built for real people who actually have responsibilities in a life. You look at personalized plans. We do a full lifestyle audit. We look at baseline testing. So you're looking at your fitness, your strength, your mobility, and then creating a bespoke plan based on that outcome. Training is adapted to everything you've got coming at your life. If you've got a busy travel week, we make sure to change the training around to suit it, along with making nutrition that is flexible. So you can still have that client dinner, still have your kids' dessert when they're not looking, and still lose weight. On the accountability side, we look at video technique check-ins to make sure you are moving in the right way for it to be safe, efficient, and powerful. Looking at how can we prevent injuries, because as soon as you get over 30, you don't have right and left knees, you've got a good one and a bad one. And when you get over 40, you just have a bad back, you don't even have a back anymore. So how do we train around that? We look at your sleep, your stress, and your recovery to make you last and train for longer. And finally, on the individual coaching side of things, weekly coaching check-ins. We have a fortnightly group accountability call, as well as a group of like-minded professionals who are just getting after it, but also, as Clive put it, a messy ball of human beings who are imperfect together. He can be a bit soppy, but he's right. And we have one-to-one progress calls every 4, 8, and 12 weeks. So I do have some spaces available if that sounds like something that you want to look at. No hard sell, just to see if we're a good fit. QR code here that take you to my calendar if you want to book a call in with me. But essentially, you'll just leave with a plan. Whether we want to work together or not, you'll leave with some bespoke guidance of your current situation that can give you your next steps to move on from here. Completely up to you. But one last thing. If you've learned anything from today, even just one takeaway, I'd appreciate a brief testimonial. That'd really do me a big favour. I'll send it out via email because you probably all just want to get to bed at this point. I know I do. Seeing as I've been up since 3. No, it's a pleasure to be here. You're not keeping me up. But yeah, I'll be sending out tomorrow, so I'd really appreciate a testimonial. Good, bad, ugly, what you've learned, anything that you want to kind of bring forward and make a new habit, I'd really appreciate. So thank you ever so much. Finish a bit before time, so I guess we've got 5 minutes if people have any questions or I haven't quite answered any of your concerns that you had beforehand.